Welcome back, YouTube, to another money per hour grind video. It's been a minute since I've done these videos, mainly because I just haven't had the gear to do the in-game spots, but your boy has finally made some gains and I can now check out some more of those in-game spots. Also, if you haven't checked out my most recent video on the best grind spots for just silver in 2025 post July patch with the kind of new AP recommendation changes, I highly encourage you to go check out that video. But let's get into this video. So we'll be taking a look at Aetherion Castle, and I'm going to be kind of showing you everything that you need to know when it comes to this spot, such as like the location, the rotation, any mechanics, and then finally looking at the loot. And of course, I got to throw in my normal disclaimer, but if you're a kind of a new person checking out the spot for the first time, your money per hour is most likely going to be a little bit less and you're not going to be probably as efficient. But once you start doing the spot, get a little bit more efficient, your money per hour should increase. And I'm not perfect, so if I happen to leave anything out that you think is important for the spot, please let us know down in the comments. But with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into the video. So this spot is going to be in the new region, Adania, right? And so it's going to be located right here. And you can see Aetherion Castle. And pretty much the easiest way to even get here is just going to be using the fast teleportation, right? Which you'll unlock that once you do kind of the initial starter quest to even get into this new region. But essentially, you're going to take the well and then you're just going to go all the way up to here. And then once you get in this vicinity, all of the spots are going to be just kind of spread out, located around here. And once you get into this area, which, hey, here's a pretty sick backdrop. But once you get into this area, you're going to notice kind of a single root that's kind of glowing, sparkling. And this guy right here is called the Dark Touched Root Spirit. And essentially, you're just going to go and you're going to attack it, and the mobs will kind of just start to spawn, and you're good to go, right? It's just kind of like a typical tower spot. Super important. You're going to want to make sure that you run a 100% stun / stiff resistance build here, because if you don't, you'll literally get CC'd like every 5 seconds, causing you to potentially die and reduce your money per hour, or even lose money because you broke a really expensive crystal, right? So very important to run a stun stiff resistance build. And I'll show you kind of my crystal setup here a little bit later when I show you the buffs. So in terms of mechanics, okay, once you hit that initial mob, you're just going to be kind of grinding. And as you're grinding, a message will appear stating a faint presence of unstable spirits nearby, which will pop up a blue circle on the ground, right? You will want to make sure that you group up the mobs in that spot, in that circle. And once you kill enough mobs, then a ton of smaller mobs will spawn, increasing your trash loot, right? So if you don't do it, it's not going to kill you or anything. It's not going to mess up your grind, but you just won't get as much trash. And then eventually, maybe 10 to 15 minutes into the grind, the center root spirit that you initially attacked will explode, while also, pretty cool, a dragon kind of flying in the sky, swooping down, spitting fire at you. All of that will kind of happen at the same time, which when the dragon's kind of coming down, his attack doesn't really hurt you. But once all of that happens, and as long as you're kind of in the middle, like where the root spirit is, it will give you kind of a buff that will turn you into like a dark, glowing sphere that will pretty much one-shot the mobs for a really just short period of time. And then after that short period of time, a single large mob called Maraka, I believe that's how you say it, will spawn, and you'll just focus on him. And once you kind of kill that mob, right? That big mob, Maraca, and as long as you're avoiding the red circles, you'll be fine. Once you kill him, the spot is pretty much over, right? It will pretty much go dormant, and you'll need to attack the initial root mob again, and that will just start the whole process over. And you just kind of keep repeating it over and over and over. But like I said, the most important thing for this spot is to make sure that you run a 100% stun stiff resistance build. So let's go ahead and take a look at the gear, the buffs, and the crystals. All right, so the gear recommendation, I have the Monster Zone info pulled up here, and I have Aetherion Castle, and I like to look at view total stats because I think that's just the most accurate way of going about kind of looking at what spot you need to be at in terms of your AP, DP. But you can see here that the recommended AP is going to be the total recommended AP is going to be 1565, and the effective limit is 1595, right? So once you go past or over this, then only 5% is going to be applied. So really important to kind of remember that. And in terms of just how the mobs kind of feel when they attack you, like as long as you're reaching that DP limit, I feel like there's really no worry of you potentially dying, right? As long as you're kind of semi paying attention, the mobs really don't hit all that hard. And as long as you're running that 100% kind of stun slash stiff resistance build, you should be pretty much chilling for the most part. And then if we kind of look at the buffs, which I think it's just kind of easier for me just to kind of just show you real quick. So let me go to the guild manor, kind of slowing down my talking as this is kind of loading. And I'll kind of go through each single buff that you could potentially run. And this can kind of get kind of confusing at times. Okay, everything's loading in. So, all right, I'll show you kind of my routine, what I typically do, right? So I'll put down my campsite. Okay, I'm already fully repaired. So I'll get this one. All right. So the villa buff enhancement. All right. And then I'll go to shop. I'll go ahead and buy the blessings here. So this is like the church buffs, right? I go ahead and just do all three for the XP as well. All right. I'll make sure that my food is up as well. So the simple craw meal. Okay. Make sure my Vel's heart is checked. And so we can kind of see here. So we got the food, the blessing, the villa body enhancement, Vel's heart. So I think we should have like 7 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. And so this 7th buff here. So the AP, this is coming from essentially the statues, right? So if you're part of a great guild and you have access to the guild manor, then they should have kind of like statues or heads kind of around the area where you can get certain buffs, right? So if we go to the tiger, that's going to give me plus 11. Certain statues are going to give you certain buffs, right? So if we go to the rhino head, that's going to give you all reduction plus 15. Now you can only do one of these, right? So I typically gravitate more towards the AP buff just to kind of get more of that AP recommendation a little bit better, right? And then in terms of kind of the artifacts, right? So right now I'm running the all out attack just to kind of give me that extra plus 20 AP push that I need. However, going back to the AP recommendation. So let me go ahead and leave here real quick. Once we kind of get there, I guess I could have went out the door as well, but so once, oh wait, what am I doing? Yeah, just go out the door. Just go out the door. I don't even think you can go out that way. So once you get the buffs, right, kind of set up, then you can kind of take a look at where your AP recommendation is kind of at, right? So if I kind of go here, right? So if you're over the 1595, then rather than running all out attack, then you might want to run vicious shadows, right? So that's going to kind of give you some more increased back attack damage plus 5%, and then the critical hit damage as well. So you may have to kind of play around with that, but I just typically leave it on all out attack unless I'm really overcapping the AP. And then, of course, the last kind of buff is going to be your drought, right? Obviously, here it's going to be the Adania monsters. So you want to use the Harmony Drought Adania. And that's just going to further give you more, tankiness, more AP. Really, really important. Obviously, it's not cheap, right? 21 million. So you're looking at about 88 to 100 million in terms of having to use the drought, kind of depending on where the market's at. But definitely, you're going to want to use a drought. If you don't use a drought, you're probably going to die, especially when the smaller mobs kind of come and attack you. And then if we look at my crystals, right? So this is my kind of my stun slash stiffness resistance build. So I'll kind of go through. So I'll kind of let you kind of just see each one, right? So I'm running the mysterious darkness for the back attack damage. You could change this out and do the corrupted magic crystal, right? Depending. I like to just keep it on the back attack damage. And then we got the decimation crystals, obviously the rebellious spirit crystals. I have the macaloid, 2 of those. Then we have the precise destruction, 2 of those. And then here comes the stun and stiffness and freezing resistance, right? So plus 25%, plus 25%. Then we have the plus 10% from the Crystal of Dodge Patience, right? So these 3 are going to be super important. And then you have the glorious crystals here, which this is going to be really important, obviously, for the accuracy, the damage, the monster damage, but also for the attack casting speed. All right. And then we have, of course, the all AP. I'm running the all AP gen crystals here. This might be a little bit variable for you. So yeah, this is probably one of the better crystal setups here at this spot. Of course, not all of these are the best in slot crystals, but I feel like this is a pretty decent crystal build to just kind of run here. Yeah. So we'll kind of move on to the loot and the silver per hour. All right, so let's look at the drops here at this spot. So I have the Monster Zone info pulled up for Aetherion Castle. And at first, I didn't really like this spot, but it's really grown on me. And I actually do like it a lot. So the accessories, we have all the Deboreka accessories. So, if you get one of these, you're pretty much just straight balling for that hour. I will say it's a hit or miss. Like 1 hour, I've had 3. Most hours, I've had none drop. But like I said, if you do get one of these, then your money per hour is going to really, really increase. Obviously, we have the Blackstones. We have the Wand Crystal of Dusky Ruin, which if you're trying to reach that AP threshold, these crystals might be pretty important to like kind of go for, aim for. And this one so this is the actual raw drop. It's super rare. I've yet to get one of these to drop. However, you do get the pity drops. So once you get like 100 of these, then you can make it into this one, right? Or you can just sell it for 5 million. And then we have the primordial fragment. This is going to be an ingredient that you may use in order to get your sub sovereign weapon if you go that route. If you don't need this, then you can see you sell it for about 30 million, which actually I had no idea that you can even sell this. So I have like 200 saved up in my storage. And when I was like looking at doing this video, I was looking through some of the stuff and I was like, oh, you can actually sell this and you can sell it for 30 million. Nice. But yeah, another kind of good thing to have to get to either get for your sub sovereign or to sell, which I think most people are just going to sell these anyway. Then obviously the Kaffir stones, which kind of varies on the central marketplace, anywhere from like 3 million to like 2 million. Obviously, ancient spirit dust. Use these to make your Kaffir stones. And then we get to the juicy trash piece, which sells for 105,000 silver. So this spot is actually pretty good when it comes to just kind of raw silver, right? Like the minimum that you should be at least like getting here is at least like 1.5 billion in just trash silver alone. So really solid kind of drops, money per hour, which let's go ahead and transition into the potential money per hour that you can maybe kind of look at getting at this spot. All right, so money per hour. So all of my hours done here was using a level 2 loot scroll with Agris, except for 1 hour. I think it's important to note that you can use the Tent Villa buff to get a 50% increase on your drop rate, which may be beneficial because of the Deboreka accessories. But let's take a look at kind of Garmoth's numbers first. So let me kind of pull that up. And so we can kind of see here the numbers. And I think it's important to remember, right, that this data is not the most accurate, but it's really the only data that we kind of have to kind of compare. So if we look here at the numbers, right, so the potential average money per hour at kind of 180% drop rate with the level 2 loot scroll is around the 2.4 billion range, with the average trash being around 18K. So grain of salt here with these numbers, but that's a potential number that you can make per hour based on these numbers. Okay, so let's look at my hours here. So I'll pull up mine and we can kind of see that the best hour that I ended up having was here, and I got 16.7K trash. And honestly, I really do think I could get closer to that 18K. Like if I was really just straight balling for an hour and like just going hardcore, I definitely think like reaching 18K is definitely pretty possible. The most money that I ended up getting was 3.08 billion. You can see that the trash was a little bit lower, 14.2K. But you can also see here that my drop rate was like 278%, right? And I ended up getting, so this hour here, I ended up getting 3 Deboreka drops, right? So you can, I mean, it varies. Like I got 1. So, I got 3 here. I got 0. I got 1. I got 0. I got 1. I got 0. So it's kind of a hit or miss with the Deboreka drops, but obviously, the more drop rate that you have, the higher the chance you get for those Deboreka drops. But I think overall, when I first started, my trash per hour was a little bit lower, kind of in that 13, like 12 to 13 range. And as I got a little bit more efficient with it, learned the mechanics, it kind of just slowly increased. And you can kind of see here my fauna hour that I did, which was yesterday. I did not do Agris because I just wanted to see kind of what that looked like. So I got right at 12K. So pretty solid. I mean, these numbers are pretty solid. I think you can definitely expect to make at least 2 billion being at this spot. And I think that's really good, to be honest with you. Is it the best? Not necessarily. I think if you get the Deboreka drops, it could definitely net you some some pretty good silver, like this hour here where I got 3 billion. But if we look at like how much AP you really need to do at this spot, there are other better spots in that AP range. So could this spot maybe be a little bit more buffed because the AP is a little bit higher? Potentially. Or maybe they just need to lower the AP threshold. But like I mean, you could go to Tonegrad Ruins or Darkseeker's Retreat or Zeka, and potentially make even more money per hour having, at least with the Darkseeker's Retreat and Tonegrad Ruins, having a little bit less of that AP threshold. So either way, I think this is a really solid spot. It's a fun spot. The when you're doing the mechanics and all of that, I mean, there's a lot of like flashing and crazy stuff, effects going all over your screen. Almost almost kind of close to like seizure effect. So just be mindful of that. You may have to kind of just tune down your effects. But overall, I think it's a pretty fun spot. I think you should definitely check it out. Look at Gwen over here. Gwen over here just enhancing away. But yeah, I definitely think you should check it out if you have the AP threshold. But let me know down in the comments, have you tried out this spot? If so, kind of what do you think of the spot? Do you think it needs to be buffed a little bit more because of the AP threshold being kind of so high? Let me know down in the comments. But hey, thanks for watching. I really appreciate y'all. And if you like this video, make sure you hit thumbs up on the video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.
Sunsets on that desert sky. It's just you and I.